Hi everyone, it's Leslie with Leslie's Cookies and Treats, and the hot weather has finally hit where I live. It's going to be 100 degrees this weekend, so let's get cracking on these duck cookies. You're going to want to outline and flood in the bottom half of the cookie with a blue watercolor. You'll want to make a little bit of a wave at the top and then fill in the top part of the cookie with a white flood. The icings I'm using are about a 25-second consistency. You can see it's a little thicker, so I have to work a little bit to smooth it out. And even though my icing is thicker, I still fouled up and my icing went over the edge, but I was able to fix that with my scribe. Once the cookie is flooded, let it dry completely. And then trace your picture onto the cookie. Begin by flooding in one of the wings with the yellow icing. All of the icings I'm going to be using today are going to be thicker, about a 25-second consistency, because these areas are all small and small areas tend to crater. The thicker icing will help keep the craters from happening. Continue to flood in the yellow sections of the duck, letting each section dry before you flood the one that's next to it. Next, pipe in one of the eyes and let that dry. I just realized I missed the neck, so I'm going to fill that in with yellow. And the wings should be dry enough now that I can go ahead and fill in the duck's body. And now that the one eye has had time to set up a little bit, I can go ahead and add in the other eye. And then I'm going to pipe in the duck's hair, feathers. I guess they're feathers. And finally, pipe the ring of feathers around the neck. Oh, and there's a little spot of yellow under the eyes. Then go ahead and fill in the mask. And let the mask dry for at least 10 minutes. Now we're going to fill in the beak with orange icing. The orange icing needs to be stiff enough that you can manipulate it with a scribe or toothpick to make it lay smooth, but it's also thick enough that it keeps its shape and dimension. We're going to do some dimensional pressure piping on the beak. Once you finish piping the bottom beak, let it dry for a few minutes. Moving down to the inner tube, put a thick line of icing in the center of it. Don't go all the way to the edges. We're going to pipe over the top of this ring. Now moving back to the upper beak, go ahead and put a large amount of icing across the top of the beak. We want the top beak to stick out farther than the bottom beak does, and then give the duck some big cheeks on the side. Use a scribe or a toothpick to help shape the beak. And if you find that you need to add some more icing to the middle so that it sticks out farther than the bottom beak, you can do that, and then again use your scribe to settle the icing down and help shape it. Now moving back to the inner tube, take your red color and pipe a third of it in and cover that orange line. We want that inner tube to be really puffy. Then grab your next color and fill in the center section, and then we'll grab the third color and fill in the third section. This is a wet on wet technique, and when it dries it will look like it's one solid piece. Now we need to pipe a line for the snorkel. You can use a paintbrush or a scribe to help shape it. And finally, let's add some waves. Pipe in some lines of white icing and then take a very slightly damp paintbrush and drag some of that white icing up to make it look like waves. When you've finished, let the cookie dry completely. Now we're going to paint in some details and give this duck some personality. Start by painting in the eyes using black edible paint, or you can use a black edible marker. Then I have taken some blue gel color, edible gel color, and I have mixed that with food grade glycerin, and I painted on a stripe of the blue, and then I've taken a dry brush and I'm dragging it out into the center so that it's darker on the edges and lighter in the center, and I'm trying to kind of give it a mottled look, so that it looks kind of like a cloudy sky, or just more like a sky where it's not a solid blue. Then using dark blue edible food gel, also mixed with the glycerin, I have put a stripe underneath the white waves, and then I took another paintbrush and dragged it out. Then using an orange edible marker, I outlined the collar of feathers, and then I am dragging that color in to make that a little darker. This was a very detailed cookie, and we included a lot of different techniques like the wet on wet inner tube and the dimensional piping around the beak. A lot of small areas that had to be shaped with our scribe or a damp paintbrush. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that you found some of this useful. If you did, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you next time.